he is a doctorate in transportation engineering. His topic, today's topic is repairs, maintenance and retrofitting of structures. He has written a book on this repairs, maintenance and retrofitting of structures for diploma students, which is a very illustrative and exemplary book on this subject, particularly for the ground level, that is up to graduate levels. This book is very helpful and it is very useful in learning in a simple way. If anybody is interested, they can go for detailing after that. First, to have an introduction to the subject, it's a very exemplary book, and today we are very fortunate to have his lecture on this subject. Srinivasa Nagu is a very good friend to me. We are classmates in BTech. He is academically very strong, and his teaching experience is very high. He retired as a principal of Government Polytechnic, Machilipatnam, not Machilipatnam, Jangareddy. After that, he joined as associate professor in civil engineering at the ACE Engineering College, Ghatkesar, Hyderabad. ACE Engineering College is a very good engineering college who has excellent faculty, for more particularly in civil engineering, because that is under the guidance of Professor P. Jagannatha Rao. P. Jagannatha Rao is a icon in civil engineering profession. He is a very good teacher. We all are his old students. Srinivasa Nagu, today he deals with the subject and he will give good lecture on this. After that, 30 minutes will be given for question answers. You can ask your practical questions and get the clarification from him. And this is a good opportunity for budding engineers and the field engineers also who wants to enter into the field of retrofitting as a specialized profession. This mate will be very helpful for that. Now I request Engineer Durga Prasad to say a few words about the chapter's activity.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Welcome you all for today's webinar, Repair, Maintenance and Retrofitting of Structures by P. Srinivasa Nagu, Associate Professor in Civil Engineering, ACE Engineering College, Ghatkesar, Hyderabad. Welcome you, sir. Before going to the webinar, I would like to thank our chapter members for participating in ACCA e-voting system and contributed 88.2% of polling. In this regard, we received appreciation from ACCA headquarters during general council meeting. ACCA ad hoc is conducted online EGM, discussed revision of bylaws, and conducted general council meeting with GC Council, discussed various center performances, discussed center awards and various issues. In the next month meeting, we hope ACCA may announce centers awards, and expected some of the award may be announced to our ACCA Kakinada Center. ACCA conducting webinar series on professionalism in civil engineering, and yesterday completed its 7th session, and 3 more sessions are there on coming Saturday evening, coming Saturday's evening by 4:30 p.m. These are few updates about ACCA activities. Coming to today's session, repairs, maintenance and retrofitting structures, going to cover the following topics: maintenance of structures, maintenance of buildings, repairs to buildings, covers various elements like foundation repairs, basement, flooring, masonry, RCC elements, doors, windows, plumbing, HVAC, lifts and pest controls, etc. And going to cover introduction to retrofitting of structures. Now I welcome Sri P. Srinivasa Nagu to start the lecture.
Thank you, Engineer Durga Prasad,
Thank you, sir.
Engineer Radhan Sundar Rao, and the team GCC. And thank you, sir, Jagannath Rao Garu. At the outset, I thank the Association of Consulting Civil Engineers, India, Kakinada chapter, for giving me this opportunity of sharing few points regarding the maintenance of structures mainly, and to a certain extent repairs. In fact, when myself and Sundar Rao were initiating the discussion on this issue, we were thinking so many things, but having gone into the topics, I felt including retrofitting means it requires at least 4 webinars. Therefore, I have modified the content in a more generalized way. Generally, my approach will be like this: whatever is available in the textbooks, anybody can know. But what is not generally available and what is more akin to the field exposure needs and field response needs by the engineers, response to the practical problems by the engineers, the background approach the engineer should develop, especially the students. The attitude towards a topic requires the assimilation of knowledge, not just from the textbooks, but from the all around him. Like that, always I used to present things in that fashion. Therefore, I am now, I have just reorganized the contents to suit the time slot. So please bear with me. The contents may be a little bit different, and the retrofitting we'll be doing with another session. Just a small introduction we'll speak about. Thank you. So let me share my PPT. Okay, fine. Thank you. Hope the screen is full screen is visible, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. In this context, I also thank my management, my boss, Professor Gopal Krishna Garu, my principal, B.L. Raj Garu, and my HOD, Professor Robert Ravi, for permitting me to interact with you through this platform. We'll be going through these topics, especially the maintenance of the structures and repairs of the buildings will be the main contents. We'll have a small discussion about retrofitting, and we'll continue it. I am not going in the same sequence, especially the repairs to the buildings. I have clubbed a few things, and we'll be covering that way. And yeah, thank you. So these are the contents. We'll discuss more about the maintenance of structures, scope, strategies, the required knowledge, etc. And if in fact structures means many, you all know that. So our focus will be on buildings because every topic has its own scope, coverage, content. Somewhere we have to limit appropriate to the context. Then in the repairs session, we'll see few things related again to the buildings mainly. And then we have, as I told you, if I have disappointed you, please bear with me. Retrofitting of structures we cannot quickly cover in a simple way. It's a very vast area. Right, thank you. Now you can see the buildings in different states. See, it all depends on the importance people give to the maintenance of the building. We cannot say there will be one or two reasons for that. Even if an excellently maintained building also may be subject to flooding, it doesn't mean that the maintenance is bad. But at the look of it, we can say whether the building is properly maintained or not. And it is akin to the human body. Okay. Well, the maintenance of buildings, yes, it is the job of civil engineers. What is civil engineering then? As per this Royal Charter of Institute of Civil Engineering, I think. Yeah. Civil engineering is the art of directing the great sources of power in nature for the use and convenience of man. An engineer creates facilities. He makes use of the sciences. He applies the physics and mathematics for problem solving. But a civil engineer has to deal with the nature's power because his structures will have to stand against all the deteriorating effects of the nature and provide shelter, communication, all sorts of required facilities for the users, for the humanity. Any infrastructure development involves civil engineering. You tell any development, the first foot that is put there in the site is only the civil engineer. So that is the importance of civil engineer, and there will be demand for civil engineering forever, and there will be always demand in the field much more in spite of latest technologies, etc. Especially the student community after this software boom and all, they are not preferring much to go to the field. This is the real pathetic situation, openly I have to admit, because the challenges you meet will be only more in the field. Well, the civil engineering had a broad scope, the different topics, and in that the maintenance, repair and rehabilitation of structures, all these things are our domain, civil engineers' domain. Well, what is the scope of maintenance? What is maintenance? All the repairs related activities, repair related activities, okay, undertaken to keep or restore every component of the structure to maintain its overall functionality and resist deterioration caused by its continuous usage or weathering agents. Any structure is exposed to all weathering conditions. The weathering conditions involve changes of temperature, moisture, wind velocity, so many issues. So we are in our cozy homes because of the buildings, right? And we are able to move to the required points because of the infrastructure. We are able to enjoy benefits of technology because of the so many structures developed by the civil engineers. It's a core branch. It's an oldest branch. So it is royal. Now, I just ventured to compare the maintenance issues with the maintenance of the health of the human body. Okay. I cannot say there is a reference for this. This is only my conceptual proposal. This is my concept about maintenance. When I started writing a book, I'm sorry, it's not a textbook. I have to admit, it's only an introductory notes, because diploma students have forgotten what are the textbooks. That is the problem. Everybody goes with even engineering guys also. Many people are only taking guides. Unfortunate. There are still people who are doing well with good textbooks and reference books. That's just regarding my book anyway. It's an introductory notes. The title itself is like that, on the repairs, defects, etc. Okay. So the maintenance of a building may be compared to the maintenance of good health of a human body. Okay. When you have designed the building, you gave the shape. So it is conceived, the body is conceived in the mother's womb. When it is born, when you see it on the ground, when it is built, okay, the body is born, the baby is born, means the building is built. And during its use, it is alive. This is the human person is alive. Similarly, you say building is alive only if it is usable, right? And the person dies. So, due to either old age or accident, in a similar fashion, the buildings also cease to have their functionality. So, just remain as solids. So, the healthy body requires good care, energy, food, air, and blood circulation. In a very similar manner, good building requires good care of its parts against climatic disturbances. See, the human body also requires that care. Okay. Then proper circulation of air. So the doors, windows, AC systems, all these things, they are lungs of the building. Okay. And lungs and say respiratory system, let us say. So doors, windows, AC systems are respiratory systems like human bodies for the building. And the circulation system is our plumbing lines. Okay. And you can say electrical wiring is our nervous system. Or see, the circulation available is also a sensory system. It can be compared with. And see, for good care, what you need in the body, we should not have excess water. So similarly, for the good condition of the building, we have to remove excess dampness. We should keep it within the limits. Okay. Similarly, the waste within the building should be, that is, it is not just building alone, the campus, everything. So whatever are the waste, whatever are not useful, that should be thrown out. Okay. Like, fine. You can see the aging process can be compared with the buildings during their life. Okay. So maintenance of this. Just the maintenance of humans or houses, you can see it involves same way, because again the functioning is also the same way. You can see the foundation rests, the building rests on the foundation. మన మేస్త్రులు మన ఫుటింగ్స్ ఏమంటారండి, ఏనుపాదాలు అంటారు అంతే కదా. The load distribution requires flatter area. God gave us like that. In fact, the foundation also should resist the moments. That's why our arikalo, what you call it, I'm not getting the word. It will have a depression such that we'll be able to resist moment like that. See, all these things, right? And the skeleton of the body can be compared with the columns, beams, slabs, etc. And It's covered by the muscles of side walls and roof at its top. It is protected by the layers of skin, that is like plastering and painting for the building, right? And it reacts to the changes to its inner or outer conditions. The body tells when you get a problem, how giving signs of disease in a similar way, the building also tells us about its disease, that is defect, by showing things like leakages, settlements. It is giving us warning. It is telling, Are Baba, look at me, I'm suffering. So when we don't take care of our body, we have to go to ICU. Same thing happens even with the buildings, that's all. Okay. So its disease is its defect, which can be cured by proper maintenance. Right. So whether it is a human body or building, both are live, hence require maintenance, right? Hence, it is required to know what maintenance is and how to maintain buildings. This is most important. Okay. Right. Now you can understand this way. Hence, it is required to know what maintenance is and how to maintain the buildings. Why? To keep them in good working condition. Okay. The defect diagnostics help us for finding out the remedies for cure. So, good care of health and vaccination are preferred over a medical cure. Naturally, there is no other context in the recent times to speak about preventive care, medical care. That is vaccination. Everybody is you have no other way. If somebody says that I am good, I don't need vaccination, you will not be allowed among us. This is not so. So these are all mandatory. So same way, the preventive maintenance is obviously better than damage rectification. Okay, for the buildings. So all these things we have to look at it that way instead of just looking at it as a masonry or RCC. We have to have a kind of feel. We have to but the person who is interested with this work, okay, the person who is interested with this work should have more kind of that feeling. Unless he had that kind of feel, he will not find a proper solution and he can't do justice for his profession, in my personal opinion. This, I think, getting delayed for change of this thing, what happens, it has got struck and not able to. I think I have to just, I think some network issue is struck up. I have some.
Now
Yeah.
come back
గైడ్
and
చేయమ్మా ఒకసారి.
Andy?
come back and re-enter again.
Yeah, please, please.
For screen sharing,
Yes. I have to, 1 minute. Yeah, I'm coming that way. Yeah, please give me some time. I'll come. Am I back? Am I back?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you. Maybe due to slow network, it got stuck. Okay. Yesterday he told me to stop sharing unless otherwise we can't come back. It took time for me for adaptability. Thank you. So,
Come back, Nagu garu.
yeah, thank you. So preventive maintenance is the best solution for all good reasons. Now, what is the scope of maintenance of buildings? Whose responsibility is it? Is it owner or engineer? So whenever, say, the general conditions of the society, especially in our developed regions, if everything is normal, everybody is king. When something goes wrong, we start blaming each other. Is it not so? So, if there is a trouble regarding the building maintenance, especially these things we see in the apartments, because recently one person, Sadhguru, was telling what are apartments means, they keep you apart like that. So anyway, the user or owner or engineer who is responsible, generally the responsibilities will be collective, and user, it may be owner or tenant or occupant or facility users, they may be, if it's a common public one. So there will be a routine use, and maintenance is possible if there is a responsible care of the property, whoever is the occupant there. So the routine use should be with some responsible care. As long as it is not troubling me, if I don't bother, tomorrow it comes to us. That's the problem. Then the owner. The owner may be an individual or a firm or government, but they should have enough commitment in resource allocation and management for the upkeep of the property in sound condition. Definitely, there should be proper attitude for the owner to keep his building or property in a reasonably good condition, right? Those few people will neglect it. It's not giving me income like that. That finally he says he continues in the same status. Okay. Then the engineer. Now, what is the role of engineering maintenance? Yes, if our planning and design are good, if our site selection are within the site, if we have located things properly, what the maintenance needs will be very less. Otherwise, for bigger plants, we require a separate setup like a maintenance engineer, like that. Okay, so the engineer should consider the perpetual maintenance aspects in the design and planning phase itself. Then it will have an assured functionality and durability of the structure throughout the service life with a set of protocols for safety of the property and its users. That means we should raise the awareness of the owners, the kind of protocols required for safety of the property and good upkeep of it. Okay. Then what are the strategies required? There are various techniques. Why strategy? Is it a big strategic issue? Definitely, when, as I am telling you, when everything is going on well, we don't feel importance to certain things. So good strategy is required because there are various techniques and various repair materials, and selecting the proper thing requires some professional advice. And even if you undertake repairs, there should be such that they will have the repair undertaken should be durable, effective, and economical. And this durability and effectiveness of the repairs requires good compatibility between the materials and matching specifications. All these things require knowledge of the structural engineering, especially the material science. Material science repairs. Crack filling is not just filling. It requires good knowledge of not only material science, the behavior of the structure and the causes of that is environmental conditions, sources of disturbance, all these things. So all the repair jobs require same level of attention in every stage of work. You cannot say one is important, other is less important. All require good attention because it's a sensitive matter. It's not a routine. It becomes, once a repair comes, means it's a sensible issue. You have to give importance accordingly. Then, because of all these things, specialized professional consultants now are available for damage assessment, complex repairs, and especially when the deteriorating conditions are severe, you have to go for a professional advice and take good care. Otherwise, you will have to spend more later on. Even after spending more, we will not be getting appropriate results when things go beyond the threshold. Okay. Now, what is the difference between maintenance and repairs? Overlappingly, we will say, in fact, maintenance is you can take it as an insurance to prevent repairs. The word repair itself tells repair. I'm sorry, someone has to mute, please. Okay. I think all are muted. Some disturbance. Right. So repair, that's all. Okay. Right. It's a damage correction or restoration. Repairs means damage correction or restoration. Maintenance, then what is maintenance? Whatever you do to avoid that, to avoid a damage. Okay. To address the defect, should see like that. Okay. So maintenance can be looked at like more indicative point of view, whereas repair is a remedial works point of view. We'll use this term. Okay. Then prevention is always better than cure. Okay. Then what is the result of good maintenance? You will have a continued functionality. Overhead tank undandi, నీళ్లు పట్టుకుంటే సరిపోదు, లీకేజ్ ఉండకూడదు కదా, అట్లాగనమాట. అలాగే వాల్యూ ప్రిజర్వ్డ్ అండ్ వాల్యూ యాడెడ్. మెయింటెనెన్స్ బాగుంటే మంచి రెంట్ వస్తుంది కదండి, అంతే కదా. అలాగా సేఫ్టీ ఆఫ్ ది స్ట్రక్చర్ అండ్ ఇట్స్ యూజర్స్. సో ఇప్పుడు మన పబ్లిక్ బిల్డింగ్స్ కానీ మొన్నే మా ఆంధ్ర పాలిటెక్నిక్ పెద్ద ఎక్సర్సైజ్ చేస్తున్నాం, సుందరరావు గారు, మేము అండ్ చాలా ఓల్డ్ స్టూడెంట్స్ అసోసియేషన్ వాళ్ళు చాలా కష్టపడుతున్నారు. సేఫ్టీ రిలేటెడ్ ఇష్యూస్, స్పెల్లింగ్ ఆఫ్. ఓకే. సో సేఫ్టీ రిలేటెడ్ ఇష్యూస్ ఉంటాయి. మెయింటెనెన్స్ ఈజ్ నాట్ జస్ట్ మెయింటెనెన్స్. ఓకే. అండ్ ఇప్పుడు ఈరోజు చూడండి, మాస్క్ నేను పెట్టుకోనంటే పక్క వాళ్ళు మనని రానివ్వరు కదా. నేను వ్యాక్సినేషన్ వేయించుకోలేదంటే మా కాలేజీలో రానివ్వరు నన్ను. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ది సేఫ్టీ ఆఫ్ adjacent properties, especially because of the setback issues now. The safety of the structure depends on the safety of our adjacent structure also. Therefore, we have to take good care of our own structure first, right? Then, as I told you, good rental values are the issues. And of course, it results in overall economy by reducing the cost of repairs if you are having good maintenance. Then, especially, see, it preserves the aesthetics and surrounding ambience, okay? It attracts respect and the users follow the warranted code of behavior. చాలా సింపుల్ అండి. మాకు ట్రాన్స్పోర్టేషన్ మా గురుగారు చెప్పేవారు, రోడ్ పేవ్మెంట్ మీద మార్కింగ్స్ ఎప్పటికప్పుడు ఫ్రెష్గా ఉంటేనే యూజర్స్ ఫాలో అవుతారు. ఆ మార్కింగ్సే కనపడకపోతే ట్రాఫిక్ రూల్స్ ఎవరు ఫాలో అవుతారండి? సేమ్ థింగ్ అప్లైస్ ఫర్ బిల్డింగ్స్. ఇఫ్ ది బిల్డింగ్ ఈజ్ మెయింటైన్డ్ గుడ్, people also behave properly regarding its maintenance. Okay. Then, based on degree of attention, resources, and type of work, at times the difference gets narrowed down between maintenance works and repair works. It's all in the degree of resources spent, etc. So repairs are also taken up. So ఒకటి పాడైతేనే రిపేర్ చేయవండి. మనం ఒకసారి యూటిలిటీని అప్గ్రేడ్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, పోర్ట్గా ఉంది, దాన్ని ఒక రూమ్ చేస్తున్నాం, రిపేర్ అవుతుంది అక్కడ, అలాగన్నమాట. దెన్ రిమూవల్ ఆఫ్ అబ్సోల్సెన్స్ చాలా బాగుంది. యాంటిక్ స్టేటస్ వస్తే తప్ప అబ్సోల్సెన్స్ ఎవరు రిమూవ్ చేయటం లేదు. యాంటిక్ స్టేటస్ కావాలనుకునే వాళ్ళే ఆ అబ్సోల్సెన్స్ ని ఉంటారు. ఈవెన్ దట్ ఆల్సో అబ్సోల్సెన్స్ ని రిమూవ్ చేయాలంటే యూ హ్యావ్ టు ఈవెన్ టు get an antique status also requires some maintenance. Okay, right. Then if to improving aesthetics, naturally, sometimes I am good at resources, so I wish to change the elevation of my building. Naturally, I will go for repairs. Okay, and whatever it may be, you need a TQM approach for overall economy. Total quality management. Total quality management, inputs, raw material నుంచి, డిజైన్ నుంచి, ప్రాసెసెస్ నుంచి, ఎగ్జిక్యూషన్ నుంచి, అన్నిటిలో కూడా ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇచ్చినప్పుడు TQM కెన్ బి దెన్. Whenever I speak about TQM, I always want my students to look at the videos of Dabbawalas, TED Talks of Dabbawalas. So that gives good approach for overall quality of not only management of an issue, even a personal life also. Right. Building repairs, when, why, where, how much, number of doubts will be having. అసలు ఎప్పుడు పెట్టాలండి, అమౌంట్ ఎప్పుడు పెట్టాలండి. సో one person by Nastar Reinhold from New York, he has given this. In fact, a small interruption. I have to tell, I collected this information from mainly internet, and whatever, not only this subject, I advise the students to go through the NPTEL videos, National Project on Technology and Enabled Learning. NPTEL వీడియోస్ ఉన్నాయండి, చాలా మందికి తెలుసు, ఇంకా తెలియని వాళ్ళు చాలా మంది ఉన్నారు. అందులో మనం ఏ టాపిక్ గురించి మనం నాలెడ్జ్ పెంచుకుందాం అన్నా సరే, అద్భుతమైనటువంటి ఐఐటి ప్రొఫెసర్స్, ఐఏఎస్సి పీపుల్, వెల్ ప్రొఫెషనల్స్ వాళ్ళు ఇచ్చినటువంటి వీడియోస్ ఉన్నాయి. దట్స్ ఎ గ్రేట్ బూన్, అండ్ వన్ కెన్ డూ కోర్సెస్ ఆల్సో. సో వన్ పర్సన్, సమ్ Gopal Krishna something, I will show him also that slide also. So he has given a course. I collected more information from that course. So this is from that only. So preventive maintenance costs markedly less than repairing extensive damage of building failure. Just now we spoke, preventive maintenance is good to avoid costly repairs. So if you represent the deterioration process, okay, if you represent the deterioration process with respect to the time on x-axis and repair costs on y-axis, initially manaki you can see the curves will be like this based on the weathering conditions, etc. So if it is in a severe coastal region, the curve may be so steep, తొందరగానే రిపేర్స్కి వచ్చేస్తుంది. ఒక డ్రై ఏరియాలో తక్కువ యూటిలిటీ ఉన్నది, జాగ్రత్తగా మెయింటైన్ చేసేది అయితే చాలా టైం తర్వాత రిపేర్కి వస్తుంది. సో ఇంపార్టెన్స్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ ద డిగ్రీ ఆఫ్ డిటీరియరేషన్. Importance we feel also depends on that. Okay, so if it is deteriorating in this fashion, then you go for some major repair, then the deterioration effect falls down. Then as the time passes by, this also goes. You can see, but with a not as steep as this, with a flatter condition like this. So this is a very interesting representation of that. So if you are doing good preventive maintenance for against the normal wear and tear, now and then you can be putting back to conditions, and the preventive maintenance will help you to avoid even minor repairs or major repairs. Okay, so the total cost, if you see on a scale, so the cost of major repair is so big, and the preventive maintenance cost, see the length of this line, small in between the other cases. Okay, so this is, I felt this is very interesting representation of the preventive maintenance costs versus the other repair costs. Okay, and they also speak, the deterioration conditions also speak you about the situation. At this stage, you have to start minor minor repairs to rectify the minor failures. So major failures అవాయిడ్ చేయాలంటే మేజర్ రిపేర్ అవసరం అవుతుంది. అది కూడా దాటిపోతే ఇంకా బిల్డింగ్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీ తగ్గిపోతుంది. సో స్ట్రక్చరల్ ఫెయిల్యూర్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్. డిలాపిలేటెడ్ కండిషన్స్ లో బిల్డింగ్స్ ఉంటాయి, వదిలేస్తే పాడైపోతాయి, ఇంకెవరు దాన్ని ఏమి బాగు చేయలేరు. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఈస్ ఎ వెరీ గుడ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఐ ఫెల్. And then the building repairs, there are many questions we'll be feeling about them. What is important, what is urgent అన్నది దాన్ని బట్టి మనం వర్క్ చేస్తాం ఎప్పుడు కూడా. This is a graphical representation of speaking about such things. Okay, and the prioritization depends on, అంటే మనం దేనికి ఖర్చు పెట్టాలి, పెయింట్స్ వేయించి రంగులు వేయించి బాగా పెట్టాలా, రూఫ్ రీక్స్ లేకపోతే ఏమో పెస్ట్ కంట్రోల్కి అప్లై చేయాలా, ఉన్న బడ్జెట్ని మనం ఎలా అడ్జస్ట్ చేస్తామంటే ఎప్పుడైనా ఎవరైనా ఏం చేస్తారండి, యూ విల్ ఓన్లీ ఏబుల్ టు అటెండ్ వాట్ ఈస్ అర్జెంట్. సో సమ్టైమ్స్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డిసైడ్ కేర్ఫుల్లీ వాట్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ అండ్ వాట్ ఈస్ అర్జెంట్, రైట్? సో ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్ కెన్ బి డిసైడెడ్ based on these factors, which are occupational health and safety, security of the premises, statutory requirements. ఇప్పుడు బిల్డింగ్స్ సరిగా లేకపోతే గవర్నమెంట్ నోటీస్ ఇస్తుంది, అరే నువ్వు పక్కవాడి మీద పడుతుందిరా బాగు చేసుకోరా అని. సో స్టాట్యుటరీ రిక్వైర్మెంట్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఇన్ఫాక్ట్ డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్ లో అప్కీప్ ఆఫ్ ది బిల్డింగ్ ఇస్ ఇట్స్ ఎ వెరీ సీరియస్ ఇష్యూ, రైట్? అండ్ వాండలిజం, డ్యామేజ్ జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది డిఫరెంట్ రీజన్స్ వల్ల. ఓకే, వచ్చి దుమ్మి జరుగుతుంది, ఏదో గొడవ జరుగుతుంది, ఏం చేస్తారు, రిపేర్ చేసుకుంటారు. ఇంక్రీజ్డ్ ఆపరేషనల్ కాస్ట్ పెరిగిపోతూ ఉంటుంది, అస్తమాను లీకేజ్ వస్తున్నాయి, అస్తమాను రిపేర్ చేయించాల్సి వస్తూ ఉంటుంది, చూడాలి. అండ్ లాస్ ఆఫ్ రెవెన్యూ, దాని నుంచి వచ్చి అద్దె ఖాళీగా ఉంటే అద్దె రాదు, ఇలా బిజినెస్ పాడవుతుంది. బట్ దే విల్ బి likely failure involving loss of critical functionality and critical physical. Right? Asalu, as I'm comparing it with our human health, okay, problem వచ్చింది బాడీకి, ఏం చేస్తామండి, డయాగ్నోస్టిక్ సెంటర్కి వెళ్తాం అంతే. రిపేర్ అయినా అంతే, బిల్డింగ్ లో డయాగ్నోస్టిక్స్ డిఫెక్ట్ ఏంటో తెలియకుండా రిపేర్ ఎలా చేస్తాం మనం కదా, అట్లా. సో ఎఫిషియంట్ రిపేర్ వర్క్స్ డిమాండ్స్ గుడ్ నాలెడ్జ్ ఆఫ్ వాట్, స్ట్రక్చరల్ ఇంజనీరింగ్, మెటీరియల్ సైన్స్, ఎన్విరాన్మెంటల్ ఎక్స్పోజర్ కండిషన్స్, ఎట్సెట్రా. సో ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్ విల్ హెల్ప్ యూ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ why materials are deteriorating, why maintenance is required, because the material is deteriorating. Why material is deteriorating? Now these are the reasons you can say. The natural aging process. Yeah, మనిషి అన్నాక ముసలి ఒకన్నా ఉంటాడు కదా, అంతే కదా, రైట్? చాయిస్ ఆఫ్ రాంగ్ మెటీరియల్స్, మొదట్లోనే మనం సరైన బ్రిక్ వాడలేదండి, ఉప్పు నీళ్ళతోటి తయారు చేసిన బ్రిక్ వాడడం, చౌడు ఓడిపోయిందంట, ఎఫ్లార్సెన్స్ వస్తుంది, రైట్? డాంప్నెస్ అండ్ సైక్లిక్ చేంజెస్ ఉంటాయి, ఫ్రీజ్ థా ఎఫెక్ట్స్ లాంటివి ఉంటాయి, వెట్టింగ్ అండ్ డ్రైయింగ్ కండిషన్స్ ఉంటాయి, అండర్ ది సన్ అండ్ రైన్ కదా బిల్డింగ్స్ ఉండేవి, మరి అట్లాగన్నమాట. ఇంప్రాపర్ టెక్నిక్స్ ఆఫ్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్. ఓకే, సో ఇవన్నీ కూడా డిఫరెంట్ రీజన్. ఒక్కసారి సరైన స్పెసిఫికేషన్స్ మనం వాడము, ప్రాపర్ సూపర్విజన్ ఉండదు, అండ్ పీరియాడిక్ మెయింటెనెన్స్ టేకప్ చేయలేదు, మరి బిల్డింగ్ పాడవగా ఏమవుతుందండి? దెన్ ఒకదానికి మనం అనుకున్నాం, ఇంకో దానికి వాడుతున్నాం. సో రోడ్డు మీద ఉంది, రెంట్ వస్తుంది, బాగుంది, షాపింగ్ పెరిగింది, గొడవన్కి ఇస్తే ఎక్కువ రెంట్ వస్తుందని గొడవన్కి ఇచ్చామండి, ఆ గొడవన్కి ఇచ్చాక బిల్డింగ్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది, గొడవలే వస్తాయి సరిగ్గా చూసుకోకపోతే, లైక్ దట్, రైట్? దెన్ కెమికల్ అటాక్స్ ఆన్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ మెటీరియల్స్, ఎస్పెషల్లీ ఫ్యాక్టరీ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్స్ లో అక్కడ కూడా కెమికల్ అటాక్స్ ఉంటాయి, వాటి వల్ల డిటీరియేషన్ వస్తుంది. అండ్ సమ్టైమ్స్ సర్టన్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది బిల్డింగ్ ఈజ్ నెగ్లెక్టెడ్, న్యాచురల్లీ దేర్ ది ప్రాబ్లం కమ్స్. ఇల్లంతా బాగానే ఉంటుంది, ఓ రూమ్ లో చెద పెరిగిపోయి సడన్ గా బయటపడుతుంది, అట్లాగనమాట. వ్యాండలిజం another reason. Severe weathering conditions. Yes, sea coast లో ఉన్న అన్ని బిల్డింగ్స్ కి ఎప్పుడు ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వస్తూనే ఉంటాయి కదా, అట్లా అనమాట. Then accidents are also reason for maintenance and repairs. Repair works. Natural hazards అప్పుడు cyclone problems వచ్చినప్పుడు మరి repairs take up చేయక తప్పదు. You can see different conditions of the buildings under dilapidated conditions or maintenance required conditions. Okay, so what are the critical points to be considered? Repair of the building, and this is what I always tell to my students. Don't go with a set of paragraphs, question and answers type lo eppudu vellakandi. Subject ni overall ga study cheste you can prepare your own notes like this. Don't take it granted that something is, unless there is a given code of practice, nothing is permanently authentic. Nothing is permanently authentic. Okay, only the handbooks and codes of practice are more authentic, and the books written by highly professional people are authentic. So what are the critical points of consideration in maintenance and repair of buildings? You can see the materials, everywhere you have to think about the materials and their conditions. Why materials are deteriorating? Different reasons. Weather conditions, design లో ఫాల్ట్ ఉండొచ్చు, ఎగ్జిక్యూషన్ లో ఫాల్ట్ ఉండొచ్చు, లోడింగ్స్ అనుకున్నట్టు ఉండకపోవచ్చు, సైక్లిక్ లోడింగ్స్ రావచ్చు, ఫౌండేషన్ సెటిల్మెంట్స్ ఉండొచ్చు, డిఫ్లెక్షన్ వల్ల ఒక ఫ్లోర్ లో పై బీమ్ ఒక అపార్ట్మెంట్ లో లేదా ఒక స్టోరీలో పై బీమ్ సీలింగ్ లెవెల్లో బీమ్ ఒకలా డిఫ్లెక్ట్ అయింది, ఫ్లోర్ లెవెల్లో బీమ్ ఒకలా డిఫ్లెక్ట్ అయింది. ఆ రెండిట్ల వాళ్ళ మధ్యలో ఉన్న వాళ్ళ క్రాక్ రాకుండా ఉంటుందండి. క్రాక్ రాకుండా ఉంటుందా? So like that, there are several reasons. Okay, usage. Then as I was telling you number of times, coastal areas లో many problems ఉంటాయి. అలాగే మనకి నార్త్ ఈస్ట్ ఆర్ నార్థన్ బోర్డర్స్ లో మనకి విడిపోతే ఫ్రీజ్ థా ఎఫెక్ట్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఫ్రీజ్ అయిపోతుంది, లీస్ట్ టెంపరేచర్కి వెళ్ళిపోతుంది, మళ్ళీ అది ఎక్స్పాండ్ అవ్వచ్చు. లేకపోతే ఈవెన్ వాటర్ కూడా ఫ్రీజ్ అయితే కంప్రెస్ అవుతుంది కదా, ఐస్ అయితే మళ్ళీ ఎక్స్పాండ్ అవుతుంది. ఇట్లాగా ఫ్రీజ్ థా ఎఫెక్ట్స్ అంటారు. ఓకే, కెమికల్ పొల్యూటెంట్స్ ఉంటాయి. సీవేజ్ వాటర్ లో అక్కడ కూడా ఆర్గానిక్ యాసిడ్స్, ఇన్ఆర్గానిక్ యాసిడ్స్ అవి మెటీరియల్ ని పాడు చేస్తాయి. అది సారీ. సో attitudes of owners and occupants finally make good maintenance strategies. సో ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఆఫ్ గుడ్ క్వాలిటీ మెటీరియల్స్ ఏంటంటే, ఇది ఎన్పిటిఎల్ లెసన్ లో ఆయన ఇచ్చిందేనండి. టెక్నాలజికల్ గా మెటీరియల్స్ వల్ల వచ్చే ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ మెజారిటీ 42%. అదర్ కన్స్ట్రక్షనల్ ఎర్రర్స్, స్ట్రక్చరల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్, ఓవర్లోడింగ్, ఇవన్నీ కూడా యూ కెన్ సీ. సో మెయిన్ గా మెటీరియల్స్ వల్ల, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ మిస్టేక్స్ వల్లే మనకి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వస్తున్నాయి. యూ కెన్ సీ దిస్ ఈస్ ది కలెక్టెడ్ బిల్డింగ్ ఆఫ్ కృష్ణా డిస్ట్రిక్ట్, మచిలీపట్నం. I was always wondering, as a district coordinator, I was visiting so many times, see how magnanimous the building stayed. Mari Machilipatnam anta deteriorating weather conditions andi, right? Same with any other ancient structures. Mari avendu paadi avatam ledandi. Now the importance of material, now you can see. So maintenance knowledge, repairs knowledge, so it revolves around the material behavior, right? Structural behavior, material behavior together in conjunction with response to the environment around, response to the environment around, response to the uses within, like that. So you can see centuries old buildings ఉన్నాయి మనకి. స్టోన్ బ్రిడ్జెస్ కానీ, ఇందాక చెప్పినటువంటి స్టోన్ స్ట్రక్చర్స్ కానీ, రైట్? మరి కొత్త స్ట్రక్చర్స్ అలా ఎందుకు నిలబట్టలేదండి? వాట్ ఈస్ రీజన్? మరి ఎంత డబ్బు ఖర్చు పెట్టి చేస్తున్నాం మనం, ఎంత డిజైన్ నాలెడ్జ్ తో చేస్తున్నాం మనము. ఓకే, సి స్టోన్ ఈజ్ ఎ న్యాచురల్ అండ్ డ్యూరబుల్ మెటీరియల్. ఇట్ హెస్ రీచ్డ్ ఎ స్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం విత్ రెస్పెక్ట్ టు డిటరేషన్. అసలు ఆ స్టోన్ మనకి ఎలా వచ్చిందంటే, ఇంకా పెద్ద స్టోన్ ని మనం కట్ చేసి తెచ్చుకున్నాం. ఓకే, వెరాజ్ సిమెంట్ అండ్ స్టీల్, దే ఆర్ లోడెడ్ విత్ హై ఎనర్జీ డ్యూరింగ్ their manufacture. So they are in a kind of metastable equilibrium with respect to deterioration. Therefore, corrosion of steel is only telling us, I am going home అని చెప్తాను. స్టీల్ కరోడ్ అవుతుందంటే ఏమవుతుందండి, ఐరన్ ఆక్సైడ్ ఫామ్ అవుతుంది, వాల్యూమ్ పెరుగుతుంది, మరి అంతే కదా, ఓవర్ అన్నప్పుడు అదే కదా, పుట్టింటికి వెళ్ళిపోతానంటుంది స్టీల్ అది. ఓకే, యూ కెన్ సీ ది కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ మెటాస్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం బై సింపుల్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ హియర్. యూ కెన్ సీ ఒక డిప్రెషన్ లో ఒక బాల్ ఉంటే ఇంకా కదలకుండా అలా ఉంటుంది, దట్ ఈస్ స్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం. బట్ అన్స్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం ఇట్ ఇస్ ఆన్ ఎ క్రస్ట్, రైట్? వెరాజ్ ది మెటాస్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం అంటే సమ్ లోకల్ మినిమం లో అది స్టేబుల్ గా ఉంటుంది, అంతవరకు ఓకే, దాని మెయింటెనెన్స్ అది బాగానే ఉంటే బాగానే ఉంటుంది. లేకపోతే యాక్టివేషన్ బ్యారియర్ అని ఉంది చూడండి ఇక్కడ, దిస్ స్పీక్స్ అబౌట్ అవర్ మెయింటెనెన్స్. ఇఫ్ దిస్ ఈస్ టేకెన్ కేర్ ఆఫ్, it will be in local minimum, otherwise it will fall to further unstable condition. Okay, so this metals అనే పేరు అందుకే వచ్చిందంటారు, మెటాస్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం లో ఉంటాయి. వై? సో యూ కెన్ సీ సిమెంట్, మరి సిమెంట్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ ఇప్పుడు ఎంత పెద్ద ఎనర్జీ ఇష్యూ అండి. గ్రీన్ బిల్డింగ్స్ లో ఏం చెప్తున్నారండి, సిమెంట్ వాడితే గ్రీన్ బిల్డింగ్ రేటింగ్ తగ్గిపోతుంది, లోకల్ మెటీరియల్స్ వాడాలి, ఎర్త్ మెటీరియల్స్ వాడాలి, ఇట్లాగా కదా. సో మరి క్వారీలో కట్ చేస్తాం, లైమ్ స్టోన్ ని, క్లే ని తీసుకొస్తాము, మెకానికల్ ఎనర్జీస్ వాటిని గ్రైండింగ్ చేస్తాము, మళ్ళీ వాటిలో తర్వాత హై హీట్, హై ఎనర్జీ ఆఫ్ థర్మల్ ఎనర్జీ ఇచ్చి వాటిని మనం రోటరీ క్లింకర్స్ కింద తయారు చేస్తాం, మళ్ళీ వాటిని గ్రైండ్ చేస్తాం. ఎంత ఎనర్జీ ఇస్తున్నామండి, ఎంత ఎనర్జీ ఇస్తే ఎర్తన్ మెటీరియల్ మనకి సిమెంట్ లా తయారవుతుందండి. ఏమైంది మనకి, దాన్ని ఎనర్జీని పెంచేసాం, ఎనర్జీ లోపల పెట్టుకుంది అది. సో మెటాస్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం ఉంది, ఎప్పుడైనా అది అన్స్టేబుల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియంకి వెళ్ళిపోవచ్చు. సో లైక్ దీస్ ఆర్ ది ఇష్యూస్ రిలేటెడ్ టు దట్. అండ్ సేమ్ స్టీల్ ఇంకా ఘోరం కదా. సో ఆర్సీసీలో కాంక్రీట్ పాడై టోటల్ గా రిపేర్ అవ్వదు కదా మనకి, స్టీల్ కరోజన్ వల్లే కదా మనకి ఆర్సీసీలో ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వస్తున్నాయి. ఆ స్టీల్ కూడా కరోడ్ అవ్వకుండా ఉండాలనే కాంక్రీట్ లో వచ్చేటటువంటి క్రాక్స్ నుంచి వచ్చే మాయిశ్చర్ వల్ల స్టీల్ లో ఉండేటటువంటి డిస్సిమిలర్ రీజియన్స్ వల్ల, వీటి వల్లే వస్తాయి. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ది డిస్సిమిలర్ రీజన్స్ ఇన్ ది స్టీల్ అండ్ ఎలక్ట్రోలైటిక్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్స్ ఎట్సెట్రా విచ్ ఆర్ మేడ్ or activated through the moisture from the cracks of the concrete are leading to corrosion, because the metal is in a metastable equilibrium. When you see the steel is manufactured, a lot of energy is put into it. You can know, you can understand the way in which the old steel sections are taken out. Steel rods are made up like that, just like that. There was morning, the way in which the toothpaste comes out of the tube, in a similar fashion the molten metal comes out of the die and is pressed between the rollers to get the rolled steel sections or other rods, etc. So high energy is the reason for their instability, inviting the deterioration. Right now, types of repairs we can see. Why should we know types of repairs? See, every problem rectification involves an in-depth study into that. So there is no uniform solution. There will be different contexts of deterioration, different contexts of or different degrees of deterioration. So all these things, when you want to take up the repairs, you have to plan properly. So classification of repairs helps us to understand or plan the work properly, decide the priorities to match the budget, execute with good reliability and the economy, long-lasting results, reliability. All these things are possible by proper understanding of the types, right? And in different points of view, we can say, manaki periodical repairs, annual repairs, day-to-day maintenance, ivanni kuda frequency-based repairs, some element-based some repairs, and defect-based repairs. Like that, we can classify the repairs like that. So all these things require good planning, good understanding of the problem, and good strategy when to take up what, at what stage, and to what degree, and what level of repair. All these things we have to decide. You can say, we can, based on this, generally we have these types of repairs like day-to-day repairs. day-to-day repairs involves based on complaints. What is the problem? Immediately you attend to that. Otherwise, the arguments will feel difficult. For example, cleaning of drains, replacing a faulty walls, okay, leakages avoided and faulty joints, and debris removal, drain cleaning, all these things, and are day-to-day repairs. It doesn't mean that every day you do it. Every day you only broom your room. That's all. Okay, right. Seasonal repairs. So this is very important. Generally, if we are taking care of the building to receive rains, then the effect of rains will be less. Is it not so? Therefore, there will be repairs like before and after monsoon inspections are required, and during hot summer some surface treatments is better, and the post disasters like cyclones, tsunamis, floods, there are other types of repairs. So you can now understand the nature in which you attack the problem depends upon our approach. Is it not so? And that requires this kind of overall knowledge of the problem, right? Then the annual repairs, of course, year on year. It doesn't mean that you do every January 1st like that every year. Annual repairs means once in a year or twice or once in 2 or 3 years like that. Okay. Then of course whitewashing, repairs to ceilings, doors, windows, drain repairs, floor damages, plastering patches, chimney cleaning, all these things are taken up. You can see effect of roots, etc., spoiling. The joints problems, especially drain problems, are more in buildings because they are the sources of dampness. See, many repairs are due to dampness. Therefore, you have to take good care of the drainage system. Okay. And then you can, as I told you, this annual repairs like that. Then minor repairs and major repairs, and there are like that we can also classify. So minor repairs may be for manholes, sunshades, painting, replacement of ceramic tiles, etc. Right, roof leakages like that. And the major repairs, of course, roof repairs or changes, alterations. Then foundation repairs, repairs to the RC elements. This is in fact the biggest issue. The RC elements, okay, the RC elements invite number of problems. This is very important. Okay. Then reconstruction of tanks, alterations for change of use. So like that, there are several reasons for repairs, major repairs, right? And of course, retrofitting and rehabilitation. This is the ICU case. Okay, they are called structural repairs. That is, the retrofitting and rehabilitation involves strengthening issues or replacement issues like that. Okay. So like that, you can classify the repairs based on sounds, right? Then what are the critical issues? Just now I told you RCC is the main problem. Why RCC is successful in fact? మరి ఆర్సీసీ లేనప్పుడు స్టోన్ బిల్డింగ్స్ బ్రిక్ చేదే కదండి. ఆర్సీసీ వచ్చాకే కదా మనకి ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ ఇంత డెవలప్ అయింది. That is the match between the concrete and steel. Right? They are good friends. Happy. As long as they are good friends, everything goes well. Once the problem comes, if the concrete gives way to the moisture, to reach the steel, electrolyte formation, destruction of that passive film protective layer, which is created due to the high pH environment of the pore conditions of the concrete, then or even within the steel itself, some what you call the internal defects of mismatch of material properties within the steel, it's a phase differences, then the corrosion takes place. Now, the corrosion involves expansion of the material. The volume of the uncorroded rod is normal value. If you compare it with the volume of the corroded rod, it is much more higher, sometimes even 20-30% like that. Then it expands. It doesn't expand just like a thermal expansion. The thermal expansion is very elastic in nature, whereas the corrosion related ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ ఈజ్ న్యూక్లియర్ ఫోర్స్ లెవెల్లో ఉంటాయి అందులో ఫోర్సెస్. చూడండి, సూక్ష్మంలోనే ప్రాబ్లం. Atom bomb involves in a small atom related issue, right? See how the roots will penetrate and split even the stones. See, root, what is the force inside? So big a force, it cannot be even predicted. It is a so small one, takes place at a very slow pace, right? Like that. So these are the forces very much impossible to predict even. So the corrosion is the real reason for the failure. What happens when the corrosion involves 4 components: an electrolytic environment, an anode condition and a cathode condition. That is the charge difference between those two. Naturally, the material deteriorates and the ions migrate. The positive ions will have more mass, negative ions are massless. They reach cathode, positive ions reach anode. Therefore, at that, the volume rises. As a result, basically, the material loses its bond within the molecules. It forms a new material. Volume increases. Then, naturally, ఇప్పుడు ఇద్దరు తోపులాట జరుగుతుందండి. When people are fighting between, so which way the movement goes, whichever way the resistance is there, the movement goes. Is it not so? So naturally, the cover concrete is thinner than the body concrete. Therefore, spalling occurs. Whether it is a slab or even a concrete, the cover concrete is the first victim of corrosion. That's how, because of the expansion of the steel, right, due to corrosion, it takes place. Therefore, cracks in concrete are the reasons for ingress of moisture causing the corrosion of the reinforcement bar. Volume of the corroded bar is more than the volume of the reinforcement bar. That pushes the cover concrete and it further increases the moisture, and it's a vicious circle. So the fighting starts between them. Nobody can stop it. You have to stop it in the initial stages itself and rectify. That means pacify the people like that. Okay. All right. You can see a small thing I have just included. Is required for maintenance of the structure. We see the reinforcement bars. When we bend the bar for the stirrup, that will see main bar maybe maximum 45 degrees you bend it, whereas stirrup it is inevitable to bend by 135 degrees. Therefore, there is every possibility for the cracks to develop. These cracks, there itself the corrosion starts inside. So to prevent that, these are the technologies understood. While making the steel itself, you use these types of steel like TMT, thermomechanically treated or quenched and self-tempered QST bars. Okay, so these bars will have their outer layer with a different phase of steel. You can see the triple T diagram or phase diagram of the steel. Mechanical students know that. Mechanical engineers or metallurgy people, in fact, are more familiar with that. This I got from that same NPTEL lesson and okay, video, right? So it forms a better layer. The ferritic perlite is more akin to corrosion, whereas the tempered martensite is able to resist the cracks, and hence corrosion will be less. Thus, the materials technology is helping us for preventive maintenance, but we have to spend money, resources, knowledge to make use of such things in appropriate way, not for every way like that. So, as I told you, the main problems of maintenance you will see repeatedly with RCC structures because of the corrosion. Then disintegration of concrete and corrosion of steel together they happen because of various reasons. It's again, this itself is a very big topic. There are several reasons for corrosion like mechanical, physical and structural reasons, overloading, settlement, cyclic loading, etc. alkali aggregate reactions, silica attacks, sulfate attacks, like that, impure water, then carbonation problems for the steel, and even biological problems, right? ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, సీ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ లో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఈ కొన్ని aquatic life, they will put certain deposits, they have acidic environments and spoil the concrete. So especially coastal area and alternate wetting cycles ఉన్నటువంటి వాటిలో problems ఉంటాయి. So it's all very big topic. Then let us speak with this first preventive maintenance, right? What is preventive maintenance? The name itself tells. It starts with the proper inspection, proper planning. It requires when to inspect. See, if it is our building, it's only between the user and the owner. So we have to study the topic with respect to a big, say, complex like a college or a big factory like that. Okay. So it requires a conscious effort. It's not just whenever some problem comes, you say, no, you avoid raising of a problem. How is it possible? That is only possible by proper inspection. Do you do anything? Do you go for is it a monthly timetable? No. So inspection is required, especially in the South Indian context, before the monsoons, because you make it ready to receive the monsoon. Say, if I go for purchase of an umbrella, if I go for purchase of an umbrella in the rain, it is only unavoidable. Then only you go. But you are supposed to get ready with an umbrella before the monsoon starts, because we are not Keralites. In Kerala, everybody carries an umbrella throughout the 365 days. Excuse me. So the pre-monsoon measures will be there, and post-monsoon measures will be there. What are the pre-monsoon measures? You need certain precautions against blowing of the temporary structures. పైన ఉంటుంది, పెంట్ హౌస్ ఏదో ఉంటుంది, టెంపరీ షీట్ ఉంటుంది, లేకపోతే షెడ్ ఉంటుంది. కోర్ట్ యార్డ్ లో there may be a shed in the courtyard, there may be a shed in the top roof, or there may be some sheds for particular workshops like that. So you have to first inspect what are the fittings, they are good or not. How do you know when the sound itself tells something when it is loose? A good automobile mechanic tells based on the sound. Similarly, the civil engineer should check with certain consciousness whether the things are in proper way or not. Leakages also will tell the backlash related issues with the clamps, etc. Okay. So condition of the roof, doors, window fixtures, glass panes, how they are, whether they are able to resist the blowing winds or not. You have to check and take appropriate action. That is, you prevent a damage by proper inspection, proper documentation, proper approach like that. Then cleaning of terraces, conditioning of the rainwater outlets, treatment of joints. Pine untai terrace, see, terrace drains always, you have a depression before the drain. But if the roof finish is not proper, the depression is there, but there is the silt before that depression, which prevents the water to go into till that depression. Therefore, water stagnates there. There the problem starts, right? Like that. So before the monsoons, if you keep it ready, there it welcomes the showers. Then water flows quickly. No dampness problems like that. So filling of cracks and patchworks to masonry flooring. Which crack to be filled up when? This all depends. There cannot be a single rule. It all depends why the crack has formed like that. Okay. Then checking for clamps and joints in the plumbings, rainwater pipes, all these things, they are fixed through clamps, isn't it so? Then the joints, then seepages and removal of blocks in drains, electrical installations, wiring, alternate power supply. See, before the rains, we should check for good earthing. We should check for good earthing. This is very important and often neglected. Okay, right? So you will check the voltage between neutral and earth, some 6 volts or more than that. If it is there, you have to take care of it like that. There are methods for that, right? And then post monsoon measures. Once the monsoon is over, you have to take care of your house. Isn't it so? So restoration of the damaged components like joints, roofing sheets, gutters, drains, uprooted roots, and you have to remove the uprooted trees. Okay, remove the branches of trees against the flow of water. Then sometimes silting, etc., may be there in the campus, which will block the drain. When I was working in the Nalgonda Polytechnic as a HOD in 2002 or so, there were unprecedented rains. Our compound wall was acting like a dam. The water was full in the campus in the down conditions, and then there were openings in the compound wall, but they were closed by bushes. Nobody bothered about it. What happened? Those bushes, they stopped the debris, so the spillway was closed, and the water got built up, and it has pushed the entire compound wall, and there was a big flood down. So these are the simple preventive maintenance. See, they have provided openings in the compound wall, but they were not taken care of by anybody. See, RTC bus lo raasi untundi, ee bus meedi maadi manam andardi. When everybody's responsibility is expected, nobody feels responsible. That is the problem with many systems, whether it's a government or private, it will be like that. Anyway, so restoration of power and plumbing lines, especially for big complexes, etc., we should have alternate power supply. So because power often goes with this monsoon problems or cyclones, etc., we should have better backup, because other problems also come into picture if we don't have power, right? So power is power, okay, electric power, right? So checking for the functionality of the safety devices like earthing, firefighting equipment, pumps, etc. Sometimes the pump hose will be under sump. Pump is above the sump, but your pump hose is located such that it has become a sump because of the stagnation of water. Then you can't have even water. It gets shortened, it gets spoiled. So big problem, right? So that is the importance of measures, right? Restoration of slopes and removal of removal of I'm sorry, there's a small disturbance. Restoration of power and plumbing line, checking for functionality, right? Restoration of slopes and removal of accumulated obstructions, vegetation, etc. Right? All these things come under maintenance, and filling of cracks and patchworks to the masonry and flooring, etc. These are all the preventive maintenance aspects. Okay, there are few sketches which will reflect the conditions. Okay, there are techniques even without trenching, digging for a pipeline, you can repair a pipeline. Like that, there are several techniques. Then now the repair works, maintenance we have discussed so far. The repair works, if you consider, yes, it requires a kind of planning. Okay, because anything involves money, is it not so? Anything involves money. So nothing is free. Even for the rich man, resources are limited. You cannot be affluent everywhere. Therefore, you have to plan the repair and rehabilitation works in a proper way, in a professional manner, in a responsible manner, to minimize the resource expenditure. All right. So what is the procedure? Well, you have to take up the repair work. Then what is the procedure? You have to first study. Okay. You have to collect the, so when you take the patient for a doctor, what happens? All these things happen, is it not so? So first you will collect the patient's data, right, age, etc. Whether he got insurance or not, all these things, many people know this, right? Where from he came, all these things, okay. So year of construction, you have to document certain things first. Year of construction, date of inspection, type of structure, location, right? All these things you have to collect, right? Then the visual observation, first thing, our eyes tell, don't believe unless you see. Is it not so? We know that, right? Don't believe unless you see. So we have to go there. We have to step in. You have to go. Don't just depute your what you call your assistant. Okay, nowadays assistant goes and gives us a video. Is it not so? Things are changing. Or a drone may give a video like that. Things are changing. It's a different issue, right? So cracks and their degree you have to understand. That is, what is the depth of the crack? Is it a linear one or it's a spread pattern type of crack? What is its orientation? If you want to repair it, is it accessible? Is it accessible for total supply? So many things like that. Okay, like that. Then the cracks in masonry. Then corrosion of steel. What is the degree of corrosion of the steel? Whether the masonry cracks are due to improper concession or any wall movements or slab movements, all these things you have to understand, right? Spalling of concrete, the major problem, always spalling of concrete, right? Then drainage lines, how the drainage lines are there, joints and leakages, how the joints, what is the degree of repair required, like that, and the quality of earlier repairs. Sometimes, okay, some job was given, then after 2 years again the same owner comes to you. Sorry sir, you told me, but I believed in that fellow because of the money. Now, నాకు బుద్ధి వచ్చిందని మళ్ళీ మన దగ్గరికి వస్తాడు. That is the degree of professionalism one should have, right? You have to raise the awareness of the clients, right? 1 minute, just small. Thank you. So the joints issues, leakages, okay, earlier repairs, who did it, how much he did it, with what knowledge he did it, what materials he used it, all these things count, because now you are in a, see, it is like this. Again, same thing, no? A doctor, you go for a doctor, he solves the problem, again the problem comes from after 2 years. Often you don't go with the same doctor, you go for a bigger specialist, like that, okay? So they will inquire what happened, what medicine was given by the previous doctor, same thing here also. So that's what building is a live environment. You have to just understand it with the same emotion with which you understand the human being, okay? Then in situ evaluation and laboratory tests, as again I am telling you, without diagnostics. So when you go to, again, same example, when you go to the doctor, okay, on a list of tests, go to the diagnostic center. Same way, you have to go for testing. Testing tells you the degree of damage, type of damage, and the methodology to adopt all these things. There are different tests, non-destructive tests, okay? Then carbonation test, chemical analysis of concrete, measurement of bar diameters. Nowadays, even without inspecting, without touching the bars, you can measure the bar diameter and effective bar diameter, its condition. There are several technologies. The COVID helped me, just a small deviation for a routine change of monotony. I retired in 19 November. I could join somewhere at the end of in November again. Of course, after 1 year, I joined the engineering college in November 20. Within this 1 year, I was so fortunate, because I'm a retired guy, to go through number of webinars, and there were so many webinars on this non-destructive testing, repairs, etc. Especially more webinars on non-destructive testing, and we have a very good firm in Hyderabad, led by Mr. Srinivasa Reddy. They are doing really wonders. Within 24 hours, a bridge was repaired without only in the night, without disruption to the traffic in the main lane. There are excellent technologies developed, excellent skill developed, and he was telling in the webinar, please come, I have a depth of right people. There is a lot of chances, especially youngsters should take this as a good challenge, this profession of testing and rehabilitation of structures, because always there will be a lot of demand for that, okay? So he was telling about all these things, right? Then, so finally, after the evaluation, you have to analyze the results, then come to some conclusion, then have certain recommendations for the repair methods, and you have to give some estimate also. because you cannot expect money. Anything is cost related. Okay, so you have to give that estimate. That's why a lot of documentation and report preparation is required, based on which you can give the estimate for repair. Now, as I told you in the introduction, I'm not going with the same sequence. I have just clubbed a few things. You can see the dampness. Yeah, I was telling you, dampness is the root reason or one of the major reasons for initiating of the problem. Okay, so if the dampness comes from the ground or through the leakages, or the leakages may be from the roof or from the walls. So dampness involves ingress of moisture. So why you should allow it to come? Why it is coming? It may be coming either against the gravity water flows. That is what we call capillarity effect. All these things, capillarity effects are more problematic due to the wet conditions around the foundations. So you have to treat the foundations properly such that water will not stagnate there. See, when there is a foundation, you are putting your foundation in the earth. Water is there in the ground, below the ground, water will be there. You cannot just insulate it. It's not like a mask. You have to invite it, but you let it not stay there. There should be quick drainage. Get rid of it. It should be allowed to freely flow. That means you have to create a porous environment to drain off the water, right? Okay. And the drainage systems, the roof water rainwater downcoming pipes are there. So how these pipes are discharging, you have to take care good this thing. And the foundation problems mainly you see due to settlements, which are due to, see, if I can list of reasons for settlements, it requires half an hour, isn't it? So there may be many reasons, but beyond the designer's issue, the roots are root causes. Okay, there are several types of roots of the trees which may spread like a bush, or which may spread like a mat, which may go down like a column down like that. So these roots will spoil not only the foundations, they will uproot the basement and even spoil the here I have shown you under the tree the pipeline was damaged. There are now methodologies wherein you can insert a new polythene pipe by dragging it through certain equipment. There are several technologies like that. And the preventive measure is, you can see the sheet piles all around your compound wall. Try to drive some sheet piles which will avoid the spread of roots towards our compound wall. Like that, there are several methodologies. And the block detection also, you need not dig the trench. There are certain methodologies to detect where the block is. There itself we can attend. Okay, there are several techniques like that. Internet, if you go through search, if you browse or search for such things, there are a number of professionals, organizations doing good business in these areas. So the cracks are the main problems. You know, these cracks are due to different reasons. You can see what are the principal causes of occurrence of cracks in building. Okay, you see, below the foundation, what happens? There is a basement floor. Now, apartments, number of basement floors for parking. The soil around the basement, it will not have its own volume like that. It may change in its volume. So if you have not designed the retaining wall properly, it goes to cracks. Not only the soil may be good, but the tree roots, they don't keep it good. They go on pushing them like that. They create a dampness inside. Okay, so all these things you have to take care of. You have to see the root causes, because crack repair is not just crack repair. You have to arrest the causal factors. Same thing again, I'm telling you. ఒక రోగం వచ్చిందండి, there is a disease, okay, treatment is given, but what is the advice of the doctor? If you don't stop that, you will come again to me. So when we don't stop that bad habit, we'll get the same disease even after treatment. Same way, you have to see, you have to arrest the input. Is it not so? In the leakages, you can't close the output, you have to close the inlet, right? So the reasons for the cracks are to be investigated more seriously, and you have to arrest those reasons. Therefore, you should understand what are the reasons for cracks. Moisture changes where within the surrounding soil or within the material itself, the shrinkage of concrete or expansion of the walls. All these things are not only due to thermal variations, they are also due to moisture changes. Then every structure is an elastic structure. It has to deform. If the bridge, when a heavy lorry goes on a bridge, if you don't feel the vibrations, it is much more dangerous. We design them as under reinforced rather than over reinforced. So elastic deformations are inevitable. You cannot avoid them, but there should be limitations. If the limits increase, then they lead to the problems, cracks, etc. If you design the structure to counter the deformation accordingly, then the cracks won't appear. So all these things. Creep. What is creep? Long sustained loading causes plastic deformation, which we call creep. It may be due to thermal temperature reasons also in very few cases. Then chemical reactions, chemical environment, acids, factory conditions, or certain storage materials, they may cause these problems. Or as I told you, the inorganic acids within the sewage lines, etc., they cause this. Then the foundation movements and settlement of soil, just root causes or roots, I am telling you, vegetation, all these things. You can see the shrinkage cracks is a small sketch, again from the particular reference. This is a Transportation Research Bureau, some reference here on a webinar of 2016. Okay, there are several types of cracks. Okay, you can see due to different reasons, cracks are developed like that, tension cracks. Then concrete, this corrosion related corner crack of the column like that. You can see again here, there's another example where the movement of the walls, okay, the movement of the wall, this wall is expanding like that, whereas this wall B is like this. This is from that our own code. I'm showing you next slide. Okay, so the junction will be at trouble. Similarly, suppose you see this roof at the top. This roof at the top slab is moving on the rightward direction. Therefore, it will give a horizontal lateral force at the top of the wall above the lintel. What happens? This wall has to bend like that. Wall is masonry, is a rigid material. It cannot just bend like an elastic material. So where is the dissimilarity of the material? The dissimilarity is with the lintel surfaces. Masonry is different, lintel surfaces are, lintel material is different. So there the cracks come. We don't know, everything is good, why cracks are developed? So this kind of in-depth knowledge is essential. And yesterday itself, my friend was Mr. Anya Prasad, who is a mighty consultant, mighty engineers consultants, is a big consultant in Hyderabad. He was just telling me how really he enjoyed this code book. Special publication 25, 1984 by our BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards. Sorry. It's a handbook on causes and prevention of cracks in buildings. This is exclusively buildings. So the previous sketch is from the same, just no wall movements. Okay. So this is one thing, this is available. Now these materials, not only the PPT, I will share what are the things from which I have collected information with Sundara or your ACCA. Anybody can make use of it. Even you need not ask anybody, just go on searching, you get whatever is important. My guide, Dr. Shankar, was telling me in NIT Calicut, whether you get something in internet or not, Nagu, he was telling me, Nagu, if you believe in God, you can see the God. Same way, if you believe that something is available in internet, it is available. That's how he used to tell me. So just for breaking a monotony, I came across this way. Right. So repairs to cracks in buildings, you can see there may be cracks in masonry walls, which may be plastering cracks, structural cracks. Okay, if the crack extends from one side of the wall to the other side, that is a structural crack due to loading effects or settlements, etc. Okay, then the cracks due to thermal movements. Okay, that's why you apply the joints in the walls and slabs. If the joints are properly maintained, you won't get those cracks. Okay, like that. Then cracks in RC elements are biggest problem. This requires very high degree of professionalism to tackle. Columns low, beams low, slabs low, retaining walls, floor panels, you get a number of cracks. I'm sorry, I think I'm getting a very important call. Please, 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 just 1 minute for a break, please. Hello? Hello? Sir, just I'm giving a webinar, sir. Will you please, sir, please, please. I'll call you back. I'm just giving a webinar. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Sometimes disturbances give us a gap to break the monotony. Right. Well, sorry, anyway, there is a disturbance. Mr. Sundarao, is it okay? I can continue now?
Yes,
Fine?
sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Fine, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Just I will be finishing within 10-15 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Right. So the cracks in different elements we can see. That's why another type of classification we said. For example, the brick masonry of a wall of 10-meter length varies in its length between summer and winter by order of 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters, okay, 2 millimeters. It's the size of a small ఈనుపుల్ అంటాను అట్లా అన్నమాట. But that is enough in a big rigid structure. That is enough to open this problem. Even without 2 millimeters crack also moisture starts entering. Even with the 0.2 mm also moisture starts entering. Okay, roots of vegetation starts entering. They further expanded. Wedge action, all these things. Okay, so we will provide steel bands, etc. Reintegrate the damaged parts. You can see another example here. The subsidence of the soil may cause a masonry like this, or the slab below might have bent like that. Several reasons. Especially, I advise the students to observe the cracks when they go to a terrace or in a balcony. There will be a junction of parapets in the balcony. Always you see a crack. So that gives the concept of the effect of deflection of the cantilevers, etc., and the effect of the rigidity of the structure, which cannot, that is, these brittle materials like masonry, they can't take such tensile stresses and hence simply crack. Okay, so the concrete cracks repairs. This is the major problem for this repairs and retrofitting system itself totally. There are several methods. Main thing, unless the cause of the cracking has been corrected, it will probably reoccur near the original crack. So malli problem vastune untundi. I used to have a very close relative, a doctor. He used to tell me proudly, yes, this patient is an old patient. He is visiting me for the last 10 years. Why should he visit 10 years. Why is it the problem of the patient or problem of the doctor? Same problem. Okay. So you have to arrest the causal factor. Otherwise, whatever money we spend, it's a waste. Finish. Right. So what are the ways of closing cracks? How to repair it? So there are several methods. All this is available in the internet. You can say just will browse over a small this thing. You can see sealing with epoxy. Epoxy is a thermosetting plastic of a particular resin type material, which will have a very strong bond. Okay. Then routing and sealing. That means you have to widen the crack, repair it, then clean it, de-dust it, remove the air from it you have to see that air is also removed while filling it up like that. Then the stitching mechanism, staples like you have seen in the previous slide. Okay, stitching, external stressing, then overlays. Overlays means put another layer on it. Grouting techniques, then blanketing, autogenous healing. Like that, there are methods, several methods, and there are patented procedures. Okay, you can see several ways of concrete cracks repairs. Everything depends upon the nature of crack, degree of damage, etc. So there are like this epoxy injection. So very narrow cracks, this is the best way. It's very costly material. It has to be injected. When you inject it, you have to create certain ports to inject and vents for the air, etc. to come out, and finally the material comes out, giving that yes, everything is filled up. It is overflowing. Then you close it, let it cure. There are very specific ways of this. Very sensitive material. With good care and technique, one has to use it. We require specialists, agencies to handle. So there are several methods like that. It is successful in different types of cracks. And then another, suppose if the thickness is more, you have to use another type of material. Same way, you have to put certain vents to throw it, that is you pressurize it with pressure, with good pressure you apply that, and so that through the vents the air etc. will come out. Okay, so there are very interesting procedures. YouTube is full of videos. Nowadays, if something is known, everybody can learn anything. Okay, but to implement it requires deeper study and analytical work and authentic work with reference to a certain code of practice. Generally, see, in my office, just for a change, I'm just telling this. In my office, whenever I worked as a head of section or principal, I worked it in around 5 polytechnics. The clerical people use it to say, I'm not degrading them. This is general procedure. No, sir, it will be like that. Okay, well, who told that? No, sir, our seniors are doing. What is this nonsense? For everything, there will be a book. Is it not so? So, for everything, there will be a book, rule book that tells nobody is the authority. Root book, the code is the authority. If you are using a material, his technical brochure is the authority. You go through that, understand that, continuously put your mind in that. Then you will understand that. That is where your professionalism comes to picture. If we just go on our experience or seeing somewhere, you are responsible for the failure. You have to depend on the standard literature. So just because I am telling something, you don't take it as granted. I mean, it's not in that sense. Yeah, not only me. Anything we can listen, you can absorb, you can collect information. But when you want to apply, you have to be more careful. That's the teacher's job is relatively easy. There is a joke like, whoever knows less will teach and whoever knows more will practice. This only on a lighter vein. Please don't take it that way. Thank you. Just for a change. Anyway, so there are methods like this, routing, sealing cracks. That is, you have to open it, then put the material required. You have to see the new material bonds well with the surface. This requires certain cleaning processes, etc. And the methods also depend how the access is there. When you are filling a crack, you should establish the proper access. The access should be there for sending the material. Then you cannot ఏదో చూడండి again for a change. పానకాల స్వామి గుడి అని ఉంటుంది మనకి ఇక్కడ నుంచి పానకం వస్తుంటే అటు నుంచి వెళ్ళిపోతుంటాం, అలా వెళ్ళిపోతే యూ కెనాట్ పుట్ దట్. యూ హ్యావ్ టు అరెస్ట్ ఇట్స్ ఫర్దర్ going back. So you have to investigate the problem, see whether the material is doing its job or getting wasted through another hole. So all these things are involved. Okay. And then the routing method, wherein you have to open the crack, then fill it up. Then there are ways of closing the crack. Sometimes you can see the bottom line. The original crack is here. Then you groove it. Sawing or chipping, there are the small grinders which will remove this. Then put a groove, then put the filler material, seal it like that. When you seal it, there are two methods. That means this crack is totally closed, and there is no bond breaker. Whereas here is a bond breaker. The bond, that means it allows the movement here, but it doesn't. It has closed this. This is the difference. Like this, there are different methodologies, and then the stitching repair you can see, because there are two parts separated. Okay, bring them together. Bring them together by how they have to design this. You have to see how much force it may be required to resist against the further expansion of the crack. Then you see this is also available in that code SP25 I told you, same figure. You can see it is not just stitching like this. The points are staggered so that the forces will not, even the carpenters know that. They say our chain riveting and staggered riveting, you know, okay. In the staggered riveting, the rivets they won't go along a line. There's a staggering. In a similar fashion, you have to drill holes and plan this work properly. Okay. And then dry packing method. Sometimes the wider cracks are there. Then low water cement ratio paste you have to put it. You have enough ability to just pack the material inside, push it further, press it further, and finish it further. Accordingly, this is another dry packing method. Yes, Surprakash Garu, thank you. Then other methods of concrete crack repair are there. Or sometimes, if the cracks are filled with a material, if the structural component problem is less, this material will do. But if the work involved more later on, then we need to have to insert certain reinforcement, keys, etc., connect them, drill the holes, plug them with the keys, and then put the jointing material. So there are similar things. There are specifications for that. There are patented processes for that. There are codes of practice for this. Okay, one has to be very careful. This is what one has to realize. Crack repair, it requires professional approach. Right. Same thing, doctor. Anybody cannot do treatment. Only specialist doctor has to do his treatment. Now the specializations have gone to such an extent. Left ear specialist, right ear specialist. There are jokes like that. Similarly, so like that. Anyway. Additional reinforcement for crack repairs. For example, here the beams, etc. Some pre-tensioned bars have to be tied to keep the slab back to the position, or beam back to the position. Not only just filling the crack, but further the loading, because this joint is always the weakest place, is it not? So whatever width you put it, so whenever again when the load comes, the weak point becomes the joint, the crack itself. Therefore, you relieve the crack by putting some additional reinforcement. That's how you can see several methods here. Okay, then the gravity filling. There are certain ways. Sometimes we cannot interfere there. You have to select proper material so that the material fills in through gravity, like that. Okay, and like that you can see if there's a big complex, it requires a maintenance solution. Several things are to be taken care of. There should be a register of maintenance, and you have to document things. For example, it's a big organization. Overhead tank has to be cleaned. So number of overhead tanks are there. Then if you don't have proper documentation, what happens? People will just go on using this a way of revenue generation. So many times you say that he has cleaned it, but he might not be using that money elsewhere also. So just a small example I'm telling. So it is not that easy. If it's a big complex, it's not just building. The same concept when you apply for a bigger concept and complex, then we need what you call a perfect documentation. You have to make certain protocols. Then you put a register which is to be attended, which, when, and what is the previous this thing. Sometimes it is written there. Okay. For example, you see in the automobile sector, etc., the date of servicing, it is written there. The date of next servicing, it is also written there. So like that, we should have good transparency in the management process of maintenance. If we have that transparency, the things will go according to the plan. That kind of transparency requires an in-depth study, documentation, professional approach, and doing everything as per the set protocols, for which you require professional advisors. There are courses like maintenance engineer, specializations, like that. Okay. The total quality management, etc. You can see there are things like that. You can see you have to, this TQM approach is also there. So I'm just running out of the time. I think we can again it is stuck, please. I think this is naturally stuck. 1 minute, just I'm back.
Sir,
Just a few things, only 3 more. Okay, 3 more slides, I'll be finishing. I'm sharing once again.
Yes, sir. I take this opportunity
Thank
to
you.
brief about ACCI.
Right, please carry on.
ACCI is a national body having its headquarters at Bangalore and has pan-India presence with 5,000 plus members associated with 25 centers. ACCI working to encourage ideas of profession, establish rules for profession, ethical conduct, to bring latest technological advancements, to arrange technical lectures, to act as spokesman for the consultants to deal with policy matters. So I request the participants, student members to take the memberships at our center and encourage our center. Thank you.
Okay, sir, thank you. In fact, I too plan to present a video of my college. I could not do it. Anyway, this we have a good now relationship. In the future webinars, I wish to present about my college. Okay, shall I start once again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just 3 or 4 more slides, I'll be finishing, and we'll open it for the question answer session. Right. Okay, so this total quality management approach will lead you to have an appropriate methodology to tackle the problem. How the inspection should be, the orientation of the inspection should be defect detection as well as prevention. Then the meeting the specifications, etc. This is a list of things. This is also available in the net. You have to, and I was telling you, the TQM involves. Suppose if we purchase a particular gadget, why we are, I always tell this example to my students. I don't know the present condition for 30 years or so. If I see, say 60 tables in the 60 students in a classroom, 58 students have only Casio calculator. Okay, like the iPhone or a OnePlus phone nowadays. Like, okay, why Casio has penetrated the market? It's only because of the total quality management. That means you give the consciousness of maintaining good quality in every aspect of raw material selection, then conveying it to the site, preserving their properties properly, putting it in the process, running the process as per the required methodologies, even finishing of the product, packing of the product, delivery of the product, after sales service. So every stage, quality consciousness is built in like that. Even in this work, if we have that TQM approach, you can use this table and plan the work so that you have an expected, reliable, good results with economy. So TQM doesn't mean that you have lavishness to think to spend. TQM is also considers economy. Otherwise, TQM will not stand into picture. Anyway, there are several approaches for that. So finally, one more small slide from the same NPTEL presentation. I am putting it here. How the corrosion takes place, how the passive film is there. Reinforcement, all around the reinforcement, there will be passive film when you cast the RCC. It's a thin, invisible and stable layer of initial corrosion products, that is iron oxides and hydroxide. That is a self coat, that is the reinforcement ki kavacham adi. Aa kavacham break ayinda, problem vachesindi. Aa kavacham enduku break avachchu? Why that shield could be broken? The shield could be broken by an external agent of inhibiting nature through the cracks of the concrete, this water or other chemical intrusion, even the pore liquid within the concrete gel, or within the passive material, as I told you, small cracks, or even phase difference, ferrite phase, martensine phase. These are the metallurgical terms, you know. There will be different phases. That is the crystal structures. Okay, the metal is having a crystal structure in an amorphous matrix. So those phases will have different electrical potentials. So between the potentials of, if there are two different electrical potentials, the flow of electrons or ions will come into picture. But ions can only flow if there is an electrolytic condition. Just potential difference is not sufficient. That electrolytic conditions are due to certain fluids. That fluids may be the water from the cracks, or within the within the material, metal itself, within the concrete itself, the pore liquid, gel products itself, it may have. Even the concrete may undergo several chemical changes with which these materials, salts, etc., may form and create corroding environment. So that will spoil the metal, which starts the divorce between the concrete and the steel. This has to be looked into. This has to be digested. This has to be studied well. So that's why, though it is directly borrowed from that lesson, I venture to put it only to underline the importance of understanding the corrosion. Okay, and of course nowadays everybody speaks about nanomaterials. Nanomaterials are again coming into every field. We can have self-healing conditions of cracks, etc. the nanomaterials. Simply nanomaterials, the normal physics, laws of physics will not work with nanometals at all. They have separate physics. Naturally, ఒక సూది చేసి పని దబ్బనం చేయలేదండి, అంతేనా కదా? The small needle can do some job which cannot be done by a blunt needle or bigger size. So naturally, these are that is the nature's behavior. Okay, so nanomaterials are also coming into picture. Many are patented ones. Okay, you can see such literature is available full of net. There are several research papers. One can also have, it's a very good area for research also. Okay, so finally, just a few minutes back only, I could put this: maintenance of buildings is essential for overall economy, important for the society and environment as a whole. Preventive maintenance requires appropriate attitude of all stakeholders, and the building repairs in a multi-pronged approach. You cannot simply take it light. You have to go with an in-depth analysis, and repairs to be undertaken requires a professional approach for good reliability, safety, economy, durability. You can go on listing anyway. So just few things. And there cannot be a single method even for the same. Pidikki biyanki okate mantram antaru chudandi atlaga. So same structure, same content, same undakapochu, same component, same depth of cracks, but the access to the crack may be different. So you cannot apply the same method. This is the problem. Sometimes that person says that I did it 10 places, it is successful. The 11th place may be something different. You have to see, you have to understand, you have to study scientifically. Why all this? Why all these quotes? Why all these patents? Everything has science behind. Everything has a lot of research behind. We have to give the importance to the professionals. We have to listen to the professionals. This kind of awareness we have to put it among the candidates. Okay, so now it is open for this thing. You have to, so therefore engineers should update themselves in the latest techniques. And in this context, really, Association of Consulting Civil Engineers India, Kakinada chapter is doing wonderful job. I think, I don't know how many participants got it point. The number of awards received, they have grabbed the majority of the awards given to all over India. So Sundarrao garu okasari cheppandi adi malli nene marchipoyanu meer cheppina figure. Anyway, thank you all. It's open for this thing, and I'll close it with this person's excellent advice. This is also from that NPTEL lesson, influence of the next generation of civil engineers to, that is, you have to influence the civil engineers not only to design for strength, but also for durability with minimum maintenance by this particular profession. He has done a lot of good research in these areas. So same thing I have also got from the NPTEL lesson. So with this, I'll be closing. Thank you very much. Thanks for the participants for an patient listening and excellent chat, comments, etc. It is improving my responsibility to make my further presentations much more structural. Thank you, Dr. Surprakash Garu. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sundarrao and all. Now let us go for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Nagu.
you, sir. Thank you for your informative presentation covering
Thank
the
you.
detailed root cause for repairs, types of repairs, various critical issues, how to diagnose a building and maintain a fit and healthy building like human beings. Around 118 are the maximum participants for your presentation, sir. Thank you, sir.
118, na? 118. Okay, thank you.
118, sir.
So what is the score? Score and not. Yes, I think my last presentation in my AS college, it touched 200. I was expecting, of course.
Okay, sir.
Anyway, thank you very much for the excellent platform to which I can interact right from my guru and to my best friends like Chalpatrao. And there are many, my college students are there. Thank you very much. My polytechnic students are there among them. Thank you. Let us go for discussion, sir.
Dr. Nagu. Dr.
Sir, namaste. Oh, Ramchandra Reddy garu, one value. One value.
ఇప్పుడు యాక్చువల్లీ మా స్ట్రెంత్ 40 కానీ నీకు 108 వచ్చిందంటే లెక్కేసుకో.
నాట్ జస్ట్ మాకు ఆన్లైన్ లెసన్స్ లో అలవాటు పిల్లాడు లాగిన్ వెళ్ళిపోతాడు వింటున్నారా లేదా తెలియదు.
Out అయిపోతుంది. చాలా వెరీ లక్కీ టు హ్యావ్ యువర్ లెక్చర్.
ఓ థ్యాంక్ యూ
ఓకే థ్యాంక్ యూ
థ్యాంక్ యూ రెడ్డి.
Now I request the participant to ask their questions.
I have not gone through the chart. There may be few questions in the chart.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is a question from Surya Prakash.
Yes,
Is there any standard for structural maintenance period? I mean, in terms of years. Maintenance auditing. Is there any standard for structural maintenance period?
I'll give answer for this.
Yes, thank you. Because practicing engineers are the better authentic persons to speak. Thank you, Sundarrao. Please.
Actually, there is no specific instruction for the Andhra Pradesh, but in Maharashtra, for buildings of age up to 15 years, this periodical inspection is to be done for every 5 years, up to 15 years age of the building. And for if the age of the building is more than 15 years, for every 3 years, the building is to be inspected.
And also certified?
Sir?
Certified.
And it is to be certified by the licensed structural engineers.
Yes, structural audit, etc.
Yeah, structural audit. It's a structural audit. Even in our industries department also, this structural audit is there. But in Andhra Pradesh, there is no specific instruction about the frequency of the testing. For individual residential buildings and commercial buildings, there is no specific mention in any this town planning regulations in Andhra Pradesh. But in Maharashtra, they strictly follow this.
Okay, and if I can add, I have collected information from the departmental handbooks. Suppose CPWD has certain guidelines. The Tamil Nadu government has given a technical handbook for field engineers. These books are based on the experience of the professionals. Such books are available. Actually, I have to show few things, but I could not show them, from which I have collected these materials. One thing, the maintenance period depends on so many aspects. There cannot be a single code, as I was telling you, but overall way. So for the policy wise, there may be certain rules, but for the structure wise, there cannot be rules because the environment differs, the usage differs, the degree of deterioration differs, all these things will differ. So like that, there will be available guidelines only. Similarly, in every field, we have handbooks written by senior most consulting engineers or researchers. They will give us certain this. Yes, we have to collect from that and give. Thank you.
If you go through CPWD website, there are so many publications which are freely downloadable. There you got lot of information about this repairs and retrofitting and several aspects of civil engineering. All those are very illustrative with clear examples and they are very practical. Those can be downloaded from CPWD website at free of cost.
And there are also professional bodies, which are putting in, and especially the companies. There are companies which are involved in this maintenance work. They themselves put a lot of information. They'll be presenting their skill sets and specifications, etc., in their websites.
Yes, sir. And MK Sharma wants to know corrosion issues of underground structures like piles, diaphragm walls. And one more question he asked, how honeycomb repairs procedure to self-performance concrete?
Self-compacting or self what?
Self-performance concrete. Maybe he asked for self-compacting concrete, sir.
Okay,
The first
whatever it
que-
may
the first
be.
question is, sir, first question is corrosion issues of underground structures like piles and diaphragm walls.
All right. The construction maintenance, the construction itself will take care of the surrounding environment. Accordingly, there will be specifications in the codes of practice for the type of, so what you call the type of cement to be used, the quantity of cement to be used, and the admixtures to be used. Because I have only presented the data with respect to the buildings alone, as the subject is so vast. I did not cover it, but the basic point is this: if it is a honeycombing, see, right in the construction time, if it is an underground structure, there are methods of placing concrete in the submerged conditions like that. Accordingly, there are methodologies which prescribe during the construction itself for the maintenance. Of course, if it is say the piles of say a drilling platform, there are methodologies to inspect them through robotics and take preventive measures. Yes, surface coatings are available. Even 5 years back itself, underground in underwater welding also was developed like that. There are specific remedies for specific problems. Science has developed a lot. I cannot just give a direct answer for that. Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Nagu garu.
Yes, sir.
This is Vijay Kumar from
From? Hello?
Gudur.
Oh, Vijay.
Gudur.
Yes, when are you retiring? When are you?
20 more months. 20 more months.
Countdown is
20 months
far
more.
away. Anyway, it's a very dynamic principal, Mr. Vijay Kumar. Is my best friend. He's also civil engineering family. Yes, Vijay Kumar, please.
Okay. Nice to meet you on this webinar.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a very important and highly neglected thing in practice.
Yeah, polytechnic
We
teachers
spend-
know what to entrust.
We spend lakhs and lakhs of rupees on construction, and
Yeah.
we don't spend even a single pie on maintenance. Very good. Thank you for choosing appropriate topic, and number of our students are also participating in this webinar. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, sir, in the chat, any other questions?
In chat, there are no questions, sir. I request the participants to ask their questions directly. You
If
can
any.
also ask directly to
Yeah.
the speaker.
I will share my number and mail ID also. If anything, so one can convey. I will just give the final presentation with the references from which I have taken the material. That presentation is open to anybody. You can put it in your website. Is it live on Facebook or YouTube? I was yesterday. Sunit was telling something. I don't know.
Yes, sir.
it is.
We have a Facebook page, sir.
Uh-huh.
We will include you, sir, in that Facebook channel. Facebook, we will include you, sir.
And all these recorded sessions will be available in our YouTube, sir.
Okay. Because I have to put the referencing because there will be some copyright issues sometimes. Because of course this is not a commercial issue; it's only an education issue.
Yeah.
Copyright won't come into our hard. It may not be hard for educating people.
Sir, Sundara sir, can we conclude, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sorry, sir.
To avoid repairs and maintenance issues.
Sir, your voice is low, sir. Your voice is low, sir.
To avoid the repairs and maintenance issues, what the engineers have to do is they should make the works to be quality conscious. Use of good quality materials, that is a properly graded metal, usage of zone 2 sand, and non-usage of old and long stored cement, and usage, first testing of water. Water is an important element for concreting. Water may cause the rusting problem. To avoid that, water is to be tested before starting the construction work. And one more thing is that if the water is not potable, you cannot use it for curing also. Even if you use it for curing, that may also lead to repairs and maintenance at a shorter period. To avoid that, the quality of water to be used is potable. That is to be tested. And provision of proper cover, which is very important. In many of the cases, the spalling is the major problem in the concrete. To avoid that, proper cover is to be maintained and engineers has to take care about this aspect. And proper mixing is important. Quality of mixing is very important. And one more aspect now people mostly neglecting is the quality of curing. Curing is very, very important, and the curing is to be done as per the prescribed period. And periodical inspection and maintenance is very much required, and it is to be attended immediately. A small repair, if it is not attended, that may lead to major damage or sometimes some catastrophic failures also may happen. To avoid that, proper annual inspection or periodical inspection and proper maintenance are very much required. Permeability is another important aspect which is to be considered by the engineers while executing the works. If the permeability limits extends while I explained in my webinar on durability of concrete, I told specifically that the permeability depth should not exceed 20 mm. If that exceeds 20 mm, what happens is that it leads to corrosion. To avoid that, to control the permeability, which is a durability aspect, one should take care of it. And while doing this basement filling soils, one must be very careful in using the soils without having high swell index. If the soils are having high swell index, what happens is that will definitely affect the quality of brick masonry, which may lead to cracks. And with that, the structure looks like very odd. And the same thing I explained in earlier webinars. JNT Anantapur campus at Pulvendula is the best example for this high swell soil used in the basement. So with all these things, we all should be very careful while doing the construction itself. And we have to enhance the life of the structure and we have to reduce the maintenance costs. This is very important. And my friend Nagu has done an excellent job. He has given a very illustrative lecture on this, and I am highly thankful to him for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sundarra.
Nagu sir, I think you have a lot of student followers and fans. One of your student, Mr. Kadali Srikanth, posted that you encouraged a lot his studies. He posted a memory, sir, actually.
Yeah, just now I given a reply. I could not even recollect who is Kadali Srikanth. I gave my number to him. He'll contact me. So that is the only advantage of a teacher.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Srikanth is a very regular attendee of our webinars. He is at Rajahmundry. He is a consulting engineer.
Oh.
And he is a valuer also. He is doing very good job. And whenever he got any doubt, he get it clarified and he will do the job. That is one good quality.
I am biased toward diploma students, diploma holders, I used to say. That is the strength of the diploma studies, I used to feel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request the participants and student members to become a member in this our association, Kakinada, Consulting Civil Engineers Association, Kakinada. Thank you. Can I conclude the program, sir?
Someone is asking something.
Oh, sorry.
Srikanth, say hello, sir.
Hello, Sundarra garu.
Avanandi.
I'm ఇంజనీర్ అండి రామచంద్రరావు.
Namaste, madam. Namaste, madam.
Thanks for connecting this WebEx for myself. And I want to introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Executive Engineer Travel Welfare, Ramchodavaram andi. I'm postgraduate from JNTU Hyderabad. I want to say something about the brick masonry. To avoid the maintenance of the structures, mainly nowadays, the course of the execution of masonry, course of the execution of masonry. That is, no one's following its bonds, Flemish bond or English bond or anything else. No one is following, and also bricks also very, very, very poor quality. So that we are basically they're not, surfaces are not even, they are not clinking sound, they are not ringing sound, and sharp edges are not founding. So that we are facing the in time we are facing the problems of plasterings, paintings, whitewash or anything. So ఈ బ్రిక్ masonry ఫెయిల్యూర్ వల్ల మనం బోత్ ప్లాస్టింగ్ క్రాక్స్ as well as పెయింటింగ్ కానీ పుట్టి కానీ పెట్టిన తర్వాత స్వెల్లింగ్ జరగడం కానీ లేకుంటే ముద్దలుగా ఊడిపోవడం కానీ జరుగుతుంది. సో టు అవాయిడ్ దిస్ మెయింటెనెన్స్ కాస్ట్, నెక్స్ట్ మీటింగ్ లో మీరు దీని మీద ఒక మంచి లెక్చర్ తయారు చేస్తే we can adopt in our government sectors also.
Sure, madam. Sure, madam. I have written a book on cracks. ఇంటి బేటల గురించి మీకు ఎంత తెలుసు అనే తెలుగులో ఒక 6 pages బుక్ రాశానండి. టుమారో ఐ విల్ షేర్ దట్ టు యు. Actually, we want to have one exclusive webinar on do's and don'ts of construction. Next month we are having that session, which is our first anniversary, Kakinada Center's first anniversary. In that I am presenting do's and don'ts of construction activity, do's and don'ts of construction. That is a very, very illustrative topic on these cracks and the construction procedures, madam. We are doing that, and tomorrow I will share that book to you, madam.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, madam.
And one more, I think Sundara, your website also gives a lot of information about this.
Yes. Yeah, in my website also it is there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much. Oftenly జరుగుతుంది వెబెక్స్ లేదంటే every Sunday or
monthly once, madam. Every time I will share this to you, ma'am, and we will add your name in our regular mailing list also.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much.
And you tell about those awards. Why these webinars?
Awards that was announced in the this
Anniversary.
governing body meeting, and yet to they have announced in the general body meeting. That's why I am not sharing that. Actually,
Okay.
we got 3 awards out of 6 awards.
All over India.
All over India. There are
Yeah.
about 85 branches or so. Against all 85, we got 3. Out of these 3, 2 are winners and 1 is a runner. And another is attendance, highest attendance in voting. That also we got. For that, no award is there, but we got the highest attendance.
So your activities, that is the benchmark of quality of your activities.
Yeah.
Sir,
Congrats.
shall we conclude the program, sir? It is around 1:30.
Yeah, Dr. Nagu.
Thank you, Dr. Nageshwara Rao.
Dr. Nagu, really wonderful presentation, and you have put up a lot of efforts for collecting the very useful information.
Yeah.
And very apt. That means because of these maintenance problems, many buildings are losing their functionality and losing their life. Yeah, good. And I hope the days are not far off. Even some of the organizations, they may come forward for the insurance for the repairs.
Yeah.
That is also scope is there, because many buildings are coming up and a lot of expansion is taking place in the infra. and the maintenance problems are really growing because of exhaustion of good soils, also even geotechnical problems, geotechnical locations, that means soils problems also may aggravate. So, okay, very good presentation, Nagu. I'm very happy to
Thank
see you
you.
in Blue
Yes,
Thank you. And
Dr.
thanks to the
Sage.
organizers also.
Yes, Dr. Sage Naisrao is my ex-colleague, the retired principal, now professor in VNR Engineering College, Hyderabad. He did his doctorate at Surat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Garu, good afternoon.
Right, Reddy garu.
సార్ నమస్తే సార్. సార్ నాగు గారు నమస్తే సార్. సుందరరావు గారు నమస్తే అండి.
Namaste.
Srikanth.
Okay, you are Srikanth. I could not. Okay, Srikanth, thank you.
సుందరరావు గారు మీరు ఒకేసారి ఒకటే బ్యాచ్ అని చెప్పుకుంటారు సార్, లేదంటే ఫ్రెండ్స్ అని మొత్తం
అదే బీటెక్ క్లాస్మేట్స్ Sundarrao and Chalpatra are 3 years juniors to me. I left the college, they joined.
నేను డిప్లొమా చదువుతున్నప్పుడు సార్ మీరు ఎంటెక్ చేస్తున్నారు సార్. సుందరరావు గారు సార్ పై నిప్పు కణికలాగా ఉండేవారు సార్ మామూలుగా. చాలా ఇలా ఒకవైపు చాలా పొడుగ్గా ఉండేది సార్ మామూలుగా. మాకు ఇరిగేషన్ క్లాసెస్ అవ్వలేదు సార్. సార్ వచ్చి 1 week లో ఇరిగేషన్ కంప్లీట్ చేస్తారు సార్. విత్ ఇన్ 1 week సార్ మొత్తం ఇరిగేషన్ సెకండ్ ఇయర్ సబ్జెక్ట్ అంతా చెప్పేశారు సార్ మామూలుగా. అండ్ సార్ డ్రాయింగ్ వేసి ఎస్టిమేటింగ్ అండ్ కాస్టింగ్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తుంటే సార్ నూతిపడి వేస్తే సార్ నూతిపడి అలా కనిపించేది సార్ మామూలుగా ఆ రోజుల్లో. సార్ మీరు సుందరరావు గారు కూడా మాకు బాగా ఇన్స్పిరేషన్ సార్. మేము మీ ఇద్దరి గురించి కాలేజీలో చెప్పుకుంటే వాళ్ళం సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. క్లాస్ అయితే మీరు ఎప్పుడు ప్రతి క్లాసు ఎనలైజ్ చేసే చెప్తారు సార్, ఈవెన్ డ్రాయింగ్ తో సహా. చాలా బాగుంది సార్. అప్పటి నుంచి ఇప్పటివరకు ఏమీ మారలేదు సార్, ఇంకా బాగా డెవలప్ అయ్యారు సార్.
Thank you, Srikanth. Students like you are the real fuel for us. Thank you.
ఒకసారి బాల్కనీలో నుంచున్నాం సార్ మామూలుగా బయట డిస్కషన్ చేస్తూ, బీటెక్ వస్తుందా సార్, కష్టం కదా సార్ అంటే, ఎందుకు రాదు, పాలిటెక్నిక్ ఎలాగ వచ్చిందో బీటెక్ ఎలాగ వస్తుంది, ఎందుకు రాదని చాలా ఫైరీగా చెప్పారు సార్. సార్ ఇప్పటికీ గుర్తే. బీటెక్ కంప్లీట్ చేశాను సార్, ఎంటెక్ కంప్లీట్ చేశాను సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. మీకు ఏకలవ్యూస్ ఇచ్చాను సార్ మేమందరం అంటే. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
శ్రీకాంత్ గారు నాగు నేను 67 ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండి.
రెడ్డి గారు నమస్తే సార్.
నాగు నేను 67 ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండి, క్లాస్మేట్స్.
హై స్కూల్ నుంచి.
ఓకే ఓకే. అండ్ ఆల్సో చలపతిరావు గారు కూడా ఆ రోజుల్లో స్ట్రక్చర్స్ కి బాగా ఫేమస్ సార్. 4:30 6 క్లాస్ కి వెళ్ళేవాళ్ళు సార్. 1 hour చెప్పేవారు. 4:30కి తాళదేవలో బయలుదేరి సార్ 6:30కి అటెండ్ అయ్యేవాళ్ళు సార్. ఆయన కూడా అద్భుతంగా చెప్పేవారు సార్ స్ట్రక్చర్స్. ఆయనకు కూడా నా నమస్కారం సార్.
సింహాచలపతిరావు గారు సింహమే.
శ్రీకాంత్ గారు అది అప్లికేషన్ కొంచెం పంపించాలి మీరు.
అలాగే సార్,
పంపించాలి, మర్చిపోకండి సార్ కొంచెం.
అలాగే సార్, తప్పకుండా సార్.
ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఆల్ ది పార్టిసిపెంట్స్. Now the time for vote of thanks. I would like organization. I would like to thank Dr. P. Srinivasa Nagu for his informative presentation and his goodness in sharing his knowledge to this center and participants in this webinar. I would like to thank our center chairman, Engineer Bharan Sundarrao Garu, treasurer, managing committee members and members of ACCI Kakinada for their support. I would like to thank ACCI participants from various centers in attending this webinar. I would like to thank all the engineer participants and other participants. I would like to thank special thanks to Principal Sambhu Prasad, Pragati College of Engineering, Surampalam, East Godavari, for coordinating his student participants. I would like to thank Professor Jagannath Rao Garu, Director of ACE College of Engineering and EE Tribal Welfare. I would like to thank Mrs. Diksha from ACA Headquarters, Anna Gowda, Manager, and Salman Sunit, member of ACA Kakinada Center, for their contribution in this program organization. We'll meet you in the next session. Maybe it's around August 14th or 15th. It's our anniversary day. Good day to all. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks for the course participants.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sunit, Dr. Sundar, Chalpatra. Thank you.